What up, YouTube? David sent me this game this morning, and even though I have like 30 games from him that I still have to look at, I just looked at this one briefly, and it's kind of in the AMFG type of mood, so thought I'd look at it. So it's a 3-minute game. David's gotten his blitz rating up, which is good. I mean, I always encourage long games, but I also play blitz myself, so I'm not really one to judge. And if you go over your games, you can get some value from any time control, although you're not going to really get that like long, deep think tournament experience playing blitz. But it's really hard to get that online anyway, because I find it quite hard to focus on a long game because I'm using the same device that I use to surf the internet, and there's always that like multitasking part of my brain that's like, if someone's taking too long to move, you want to check your email. Anyway, let's check this game out. This is different. David doesn't usually play Sicilian. I do encourage him to like focus mostly on the same openings, but there is some value playing different openings because you get to look at different positions. So open Sicilian, and David plays my opening, the Accelerated Dragon. Although I usually play the G6 first, that way they can't play Rossalimo type positions with Bishop here. But it's neither here nor there. So everything's normal so far. Main move is Bishop G7. Knight F6 is also playable, but Bishop G7 is better. But David lashes out in the center with E5, so this is really bad. Um, there is an opening where you play this, but I think it's called the Sveshnikov. Actually, that was my first Sicilian ever started playing. This little guy in Washington Square Park named Sweet Pea. New York City players might know him. He short guy, like he used to sit on a phone book to be taller. Probably like only 1,500 strength, but at the time I was like, 1,000 strength, so he used to beat me all the time. Anyway, he played this, but the E5 combined with G6 is really bad because you need your bishop here to defend this square. I'll show you some examples. So David's opponent played knight takes knight, but much better in these type of structures is knight here. And the threat is pretty simple to just play. Knight in, bishop has to take, and then the queen comes in. This bishop's going to have a hard time getting out. And yeah, in regular structures, the knight would be out on f6. And then you could play queen e7 and like trade the queens and try to somehow get your pawn to d5, but it's pretty hard. Black will have a backward pawn the whole game. But in the regular Sveshnikov rather, black has some compensation, but here it's just bad. For example, say you play a6. Yeah, I mean you can see this is bad. The d pawn's backwards. It's not the end of the world. Black can fight. Maybe try to trade queens, get the knight out. But say you play d6. Now knight d5 is a big problem. And yeah, you'd really say black is busted. Say instead you say, okay, this is a bad situation. Let me just try to get my pieces out. Well, now you're getting pins. Yeah, if you defend this way, now you're gonna have to move with your king. And yeah, black is just having serious problems. Probably totally lost. So yeah, the e5 combined with g6 in the open Sicilian is not working. But white obliges and takes for black, so now black at least has more hope of getting d5 in. Still not an ideal position for black, but much better than the alternative. So bishop e3 is played, knight f6. Just looking at it with the engine before. The engine in this kind of unusual position gives some weird variation with f5. Usually you don't want to just throw pawns up when you're not developed, but the idea is to try to get d5 in, get a big center, and then develop behind the pawns. making a kind of a gambit of it. Not really a gambit because we already have a threat here. Queen d6 looks kind of like a strange move, but it does defend g6 and renews the threat. Yeah, I think if we try to do this now, it's could not be worth it for black. These aren't like computer moves; these are just like my moves. But yeah, this is already totally lost, as you can see. Yeah. So anyway, it's neither here nor there. Just if you get in, if you find yourself in like a weird position in the opening where you kind of feel like you misplayed, but also probably your opponent misplayed, and you're just in totally unfamiliar territory, it helps. You could think outside the box and try to come up with weird stuff. That F5 move hasn't been played, although this position's only been reached 5 times in Lee chess games above 2,000 average. Now, you might ask why I don't use master games. Well, it's just that there's been more games played on Lee chess, and it's just kind of interesting what non-masters but fairly strong players will play. Um, anyways, knight f6 was played, bishop c4. Now David played bishop to b7. Um, Engine recommends this, just kind of giving up on the hope of getting d5 in, but at least you have like this kind of solid center. No pieces can come in here. It's hard for black to put more pressure here. We're just going to fianchetto castle. Yeah, at some point d6 might be overwhelmed, but if we fianchetto castle, we might have to play knight e8 to defend the pawn, move the queen out of the way in case there's a rook on the d file. It's playable, but bishop b7 was played, and yeah, the problem here is that white can castle, and then you put your bishop here, white can come in here and just keep this pawn backward, keep pressure here. Yeah, it's just not horrible, but less than ideal. But black take a different approach. Looks like he wants to castle queenside, but yeah, David plays this good move, pinning the knight. You could fianchetto, but with the bishop's going to be blocked anyway. And it's just one of those weird positions. Sometimes you have to think outside the box. So bishop b4 is a good move, already with a threat. White plays the timeout to protect the e pawn, and now David goes forward with d5, and this would like almost be this type of move is great when you hit the bishop and then threaten a fork. This happens a lot in these type of openings. Now white can get out of it by checking, and now I can move one of these pieces and be okay. Plays bishop here, and the problem with playing d4 is we're not really going to win the knight because why? Oh, yeah, because a3 and b4. But this is still a good position though. I mean, considering the opening, this worked out pretty well for white. David took the knight. I would say keeping pressure is better. Force him to play b4. You could also break this pin. And yeah, the knight doesn't really have any great squares. It's probably about equal. Yeah, this is like the engine move, but I think I would play here. But anyway, David took, queen takes, rook takes to the center, takes, hits the rook. Yeah, but the problem with this variation is that we're going to lose these pawns back, this pawn back, and this C and B pawn are going to be quite dangerous. So this is a little scary. Yeah, right now we have this immediate problem to 10-2, which David does with king d7. Rook takes b2, and yeah, this move is bad because it just encourages white to do what he wants to do anyway. And yeah, these pawns are dangerous. Like I'd say objectively, probably white is winning. And the computer only gives it like +1, but this is just like a really horrible position to be in. I hate these type of positions where Your opponent has a passed pawn, connected passed pawn. Well, this one's not passed, but protected passed pawn, I should say. And he can just castle, get both of his rooks behind this pawn, and you're just really struggling to defend. But yeah, I'm not sure what would be better. Definitely not here. Maybe get behind the pawn right away. You could kind of play for tricks here. If this, then you're distracting the bishop and winning the pawn. And now it's got to be like totally equal. Okay, white has the bishop pair, but yeah, you got rid of the c pawn so you can breathe a sigh of relief. Obviously, white doesn't have to play um, c4. His pawn's already protected. He can just castle, put the rook behind it. But anyways, but yeah, this was not ideal. And yeah, black can even push again. And he can push again. And yeah, so this is getting a little scary here. But black brought his king up, also reasonable. I'm not sure what bishop a4 was about. Oh, I guess he wants to oppose here and trade everything. Oh yeah, there was uh, one point earlier in the game. Ah yeah, this point. No. Oh yeah, instead of d4, um, you can just keep the pressure here and kick this bishop. If the bishop goes back, we can like kick him again. And yeah, this doesn't really look that critical, but it gets rid of this pressure on the knight. And yeah, now we can play d5. Okay, actually we do have well, no, that's no problem. We have time for all that. But anyway, sorry, let me jump back to the position at hand here. So king e2 is played, rook here. Yeah, I mean this pin is always annoying, so we could have got rid of it earlier, and it wouldn't have really affected the d4 pawn bishop plan. Um, yeah. See e5. We can't afford to lose this pawn. This is um, yeah. I guess maybe we could get away with this. Let's see. This is just a little bit scary. We do have um, pressure on the king. Now we have a threat here. It's a little bit scary. I don't know. I think I remember the computer thought e4 was actually not a bad move. So, but I don't know. I'm not brave enough to play moves like that. Um, Now we have to handle the h7 pawn. Yeah, but yeah, I don't see what's wrong with. Oh, actually, yeah. Oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. We have this move, so it can't take. Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, and there's no coming back to hit the rook because that square is covered. Still, these two pawns are scary, but okay. Um, I would let white initiate the trade here. David took because then we could play pawn takes, take this pawn. Yeah, and then maybe this pawn. If we really need to get counterplay with kingside pawns or some kind of counterplay. And then here's just sacking the pawn for no reason. Also, the a pawn is even more important. Yeah. Okay, we're getting some pawns, but yeah, the b and c pawns are going to be deciding the game. And yeah, the rest of the game I'm just going through quickly. Yeah. Yeah, this is unfortunate. We're not really taking care of this threat. And white has a check. Yeah, and then yeah, this just gets taken too. And the rest of the game is not of particularly importance, but though the opening and middle game were interesting, and just some ideas in open Sicilians in general. um, yeah, concepts to watch out for. Anyway, I'm gonna eat my oatmeal and then head to the gym. So thank you for watching, and I will be back with more MFG soon.